Most people play a game for its main story content and disregard everything else. But if you take the time to look, you might notice some games have unique side content hidden often in plain sight. And if you're anything like me, you'll want to explore them all. Welcome to Side Quests. Rise of the Tomb Raider is the second game in the Tomb Raider reboot franchise. The campaign is good Nathan Drake type fun. Actually, no, that's kind of reductive. The game is actually a really good reboot of the Tomb Raider games in my opinion, keeping the core elements of what made the originals so good while modernizing in most areas. The climbing is, and please forgive me but I need to do some course correction here, better and smoother than most Assassin's Creed games. Guys, I promise, I played Assassin's Creed 2 finally, and it's really good actually. You know, in fact, it actually does a great job of naturally incorporating its parkour into its puzzle solving, almost exactly like how Assassin's Creed 1 and 2 used its parkour. Editing game reel here. Yeah, fuck ass. It's almost like both franchises were directly inspired by Prince of Persia. Fucking dumbass. Why do I work with this guy? I would genuinely recommend this game if you like third-person action games, but I have genuinely no desire to talk about the main content these games have to offer. Instead, I want to discuss the expeditions. Several modes that reuse the existing gameplay and maps to create new and unique content. Expeditions uses this bizarre card system, which is weird and not at all what I would expect, but it's surprisingly good for the replayability of these modes. So here's how this works. Most versions of the game should come with DLC/Game of the Year card packs that give you permanent cards that will get you started. You can also earn card packs from playing the main story mode, or purchasing card packs with credits earned from completing expedition modes, as well as completing the extra challenges on top of all of this. So basically, if you play this game, you can't go 2 feet without tripping over free card packs. So this is a deck building feature tacked on, but instead of doing anything like deck building cards, making the metaphor completely useless, these instead act as modifiers and can make the game easier, harder, or be completely neutral in terms of difficulty. Some of these cards simply just change the equipment you start with, and some of the gear cards will provide free upgrades at the very start of the expedition. Some expeditions have unique cards, like Endurance or Cold Darkness, with cards that change how certain mechanics work in each mode. Like, for example, kills increasing warmth, or hordes getting more aggressive with each failed puzzle. Actually, I might be wrong. It might be increases hunger, or decreases hunger. It increases the food meter instead of warmth. It's one of the two. I might be stupid. Small tangent, but I really like that you can play as classic Lara with these cards, and it's super funny because the low poly models kind of obstruct the camera. Oh yeah, and they're insanely out of place in these high poly environments. I'm gonna do this from least to most interesting because trust me, you're gonna want to hear me gush about the best these modes have to offer. Now, I don't count the chapter replays as anything unique or interesting, so the first mode on our plate is Score Attack. Score Attack takes chapters from the main story mode of the game and litters blue score multiplier booster things along various routes throughout the level. It rewards you for completing the chapter quickly and efficiently, as in killing the enemies with headshots, taking the least amount of damage possible, etc. It's the least interesting or engaging mode of the bunch since it's literally just copy-pasted chapters from the main story. Slightly more interesting is the Remnant Resistance mode. These modes utilize the combat arenas from the main story with a set number of objectives to complete before the run is actually over. The twist here is that these modes can actually be made by players themselves. This is cool, or it would be if the objectives weren't the same handful repeated over and over with minimal variation based on difficulty and enemy type based on the RNG card unboxing system. In fact, these missions are completely created using cards. So in a strange twist, instead of you picking the cards, the level creator picks them for you, and you are completely at the whim of the challenge presented within. Unfortunately, this mode lacks depth that is ratified later on in Endurance, primarily in that the maps from the campaign were not meant to be played in for more than the few chapters they star in during the campaign. Not to mention, these arenas get old quickly after Lara stops and goes, "I've done it for the 4th fucking time." Once you do a full run of this mode, you've basically done them all. This mode is a great idea, with community-created content being front and center in some of my favorite games. Regardless, it's still a great idea executed poorly. I believe due to the restrictions of the game itself. The lack of, for example, Gary's Mod or Arma 3 level modding tools means the content here must use the same assets from the main game, so this mode feels formulaic after the first few runs. Lara's Nightmare is where things start to actually get good. I went into this one pretty unenthused, but it surprised me. The card system in combination with how fucking hard this mode can really be actually had me experimenting with card combos for the first time in a while. The cramped halls of the Croft Manor in combination with the randomization on each attempt had me running around trying to find weapons and the master key while dodging the never-ending zombies. In fact, it was very reminiscent of Call of Duty Zombies, mixed in with sort of a Resident Evil Mercenaries mode. This mode genuinely had me hooked till I beat it, and so far this is the best mode yet. I think that the Croft Mansion being a unique map really helps, mixed with the tense situations presented by the lack of proper melee when dealing with hordes of zombies. It's way more compelling of a gameplay loop than I expected. Unfortunately, there isn't much more I have to say on this. It's a fun little horde mode that's got a perfect balance of challenge and fun that's engaging long enough for you to beat it. Though unlike horde modes like Black Ops Zombies, this has a small map with a definitive end. Not to mention the card system breaks the progression that something like Call of Duty Zombies hinges on for repeat playthroughs. Gamblers aren't born, they're made. 950 points at a time. Though ultimately they might not have been truly aiming for endless replayability. If they were just trying to make a fun little zombie mode, then I think that they genuinely succeeded. But I would argue that they outdid Lara's Nightmare with this next expedition, Cold Darkness. Cold Darkness is set after the main campaign and sees Lara working with two members of the Remnants, Sophia and Nadia, the latter is a DLC character by the way, to contain an outbreak of a zombie virus. Is this canon? I don't know, but that's the basic premise. This abandoned Soviet research station is full of zombie gas that has turned a bunch of Trinity soldiers, those are the bad guys by the way, I don't feel like I clarified, into zombies. You start off with a bow, unless you, of course, use a card that gives you a fully upgraded pistol or a shotgun or whatever, and you can spend some time scrounging for weapons, weapon mods, and hostages, which, if you rescue enough, you actually get items that can be used in the campaign, a shotgun and an outfit. Once you make it to the tower, you have to do a puzzle according to the instructions Nadia gives you. Actually, while reading the manual, she can do the Payday 2 thing where the instructions can be wrong sometimes, but it doesn't really give you enough time to actually find and do the wrong thing before Nadia corrects herself.
I need to know where these components were made. Look for a country of origin. You should see a German flag. If you do, then find the lever for the radioactive waste system and pull it. If not, then you need, oh god, Lara, don't. I'm reading a completely wrong page.
These towers don't change, aside from clue colors or locations, so things like pipes and fuse boxes can be slightly changed based on the correct solution of the puzzle as a whole. In fact, the entire expedition itself doesn't really change. Some paths will be open where they were previously blocked, and weapon spawns will be slightly randomized, though you will always find a weapon at one of these weapon cache locations. So ultimately, once you finish this mode, it lacks any reason to come back for repeat playthroughs. Even with the card system, nothing will actually change the fact that it's the same set of steps with the same gameplay and the same puzzles. But this is definitely one of the better expeditions. Much like Lara's Nightmare, the map and premise are pretty engaging. Unlike the Croft Manor, the Cold Darkness map seems to be made up of assets taken from the campaign, which is not a problem at all, I just figured it should be pointed out. The puzzle towers are really good. The puzzles utilize all the game's mechanics really well, and it's genuinely fun to solve, especially once you complete the first one or two and the towers start getting really difficult. Once you clear a tower, the next one will require one extra step in a puzzle to be completed, and each clearing causes more zombies to trickle in, meaning you have to sneak around or risk open combat while each step in the puzzle seems to spawn more zombies in. The expedition caps off with a final set piece where you have to destroy the pistons that attach to a few tanks holding the materials that help create the zombie gas. So this is really where the scavenging comes in clutch. The more resources you have, the more likely you are to finish it. Well, unless you're quick enough to destroy most of these pistons before the zombies actually properly congregate. All in all, this expedition is one of the best. But unfortunately, what makes it good isn't that it's replayable. It's a fun little mode that taps into the semi-open areas of the main campaign, but also has the puzzle stuff that is a staple of Tomb Raider. It's good. It's very good. And I'm sure that most people will never even play it.
You did it, Lara. You saved us.
Yuri! 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 Okay, it's time for the grand finale. Endurance mode. This is not just the only multiplayer mode this game offers, since the first Tomb Raider actually had PvP multiplayer, which I have plans of covering in the future. But this is also my favorite and likely the best mode this game has to offer. Endurance has you, as Lara, or two Laras if you play in co-op, hunting through a semi-procedurally generated map for Tombs 2, wait for it, raid for artifacts. Meanwhile, you are starving and freezing to death. Actions like climbing and sprinting and generally getting into combat will drain your hunger, where intense exposure to weather or water will rapidly drain your warmth. You have to find fires, either in the world or unlit fire pits, to warm yourself up. Actually, the unlit fire pits, or base camps as the game calls them, allow you to upgrade your skills, gear, and weapons just like in the main campaign, which makes for a really fucking fun gameplay loop. Now, if you haven't played Rise of the Tomb Raider before, within the first hour of the game, Lara gets isolated from her only ally in an avalanche, and you go through the tutorial stuff where you gather materials, build a fire, and then once Trinity shows up, you get to climb up in the trees to gain an advantage during stealth. Endurance is taking this, the first night where Lara is forced to survive, which is effectively just a tutorial section, and turning it into a fully fledged survival mode. In fact, the map for Endurance mode is literally called Siberian Wilderness, which is what this area of the game in the tutorial is called and referenced as in literally any of the other modes that allow you to replay chapters or even score attack or whatever. I feel the need to draw parallels to The Division of all games. Both of these games have settings and gameplay that would benefit from grounded hard-as-nails survival, but end up ultimately being more generic versions of themselves when it comes to the main content. But both of these games have side modes that do exactly this: turn the base gameplay loop into a survival mode. Now, a disappointing but ultimately predictable issue I have with Rise of the Tomb Raider is that these survival elements go out the window after the tutorial. Lara never gets cold again, or has to find food or whatever, which is why I'm playing on Extreme Survivor, where campfires are the only way to save the game. So Endurance course corrects hard in this area. The resource management is stellar. You have to manage not just food and warmth, but also your ammo and materials that let you upgrade your gear, weapons, and even craft vital special ammo. Not to mention that the same resource you need to build fires is also used in crafting arrows, one of the best stealth tools so long as you aren't bringing a fully upgraded gun in via the card system. This gameplay loop, to me, feels very reminiscent of the Arkham Predator system. Taking a fight head-on is often suicide, so you use trees and bushes to eliminate enemies safely. And let me tell you that nothing in life is as satisfying to me as hopping between trees above unsuspecting enemies. A feeling that's only sated by this game and Assassin's Creed 3. God, I wish Assassin's Creed 3 was actually good. You know, I honestly think that adding a roguelike mode like endurance or survival into a game is fucking genius. Because people like me, that is, people who think roguelikes are like fucking crack, will go crazy for this shit. Especially when you add in the resource and time management with freezing, like literally both Tomb Raider and The Division force you to balance the amount of time you are exposed to both combat and the environment with the freezing mechanic. Like, it's wild the parallels that I could draw between the two modes, but regardless, these both hook me with the fact that every move is a strategic decision. To be fair, I would have preferred The Division's main gameplay loop to be more like its survival mode, but regardless, I think that more games should have these kinds of modes. Not because it makes more money or extends playtime, people will never care about endurance, but because this shit shows that the devs have passion for their art. This stuff is fun because the effort put into the content can be felt, and it makes playing this so much more special for folks like me. And honestly, I think it's quite beautiful that there are parts of this work of art that only a few people will ever truly experience or enjoy. I do want to do more of this exploring weird side modes that only add to the experience the game offers. So if you have suggestions on games that do things similar to this, please leave them in the comments. I'm always looking for this type of stuff. This is a section of the video that I'm recording at the very end. This is... I'm recording this at 5 in the morning. Anyways. Oh shit, I just realized I have an Epic Games fucking pop-up on my fucking screen. Okay, anyways, so I'm gonna rank real quick all of the modes, which I believe there's only 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, 5! I forgot about Remnant Resistance. Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay, so I have all of the side modes, so we're gonna rank them in order, okay? So we have Score Attack. Score Attack, I'm gonna have to put in Stinky. Also, by the way, Score Attack is literally just a fucking thumbnail of somebody getting the gold medal for the Siberian Wilderness Score Attack level. So, I'll put a link to the video I got it from in the description. Go check it out if you really want to see somebody fucking play more score attack. Anyways, because the thing is, like, the score attack doesn't have a fucking icon. To be fair, neither does Remnant Resistance. Anyways, Remnant Resistance I'm gonna put in B tier because, you know, a good idea, executed horribly in my opinion. Laura's Nightmare, that's an A tier. Laura's Nightmare is a solid A tier. Cold Darkness, I'm very conflicted. I really want to put it in S tier, but while it's really good and fun, no, you know what? Actually, I've changed my mind. It's good. It's good enough to go in S tier. Not because it is as good as Endurance, but just simply because it is fucking, like, it is more Tomb Raider content in a way that everything else isn't, okay? Like, it's more adventure, puzzle, romp. Like, it is more Tomb Raider content in a very good way, where, you know, Score Attack or Remnant Resistance very much don't feel like more Tomb Raider content, you know? And then finally, last but not least, Endurance mode. We all knew it. We all knew this was gonna. we all knew that this was gonna be an S tier. Anyways, I got nothing else to say. I'm not gonna tell you to go play it or anything. Just fucking get out of here. Go watch Video Essay of the Dead for the 15th time. That's what I'm gonna go do.